My husband was away overseas for a work project for 6 months, leaving just my troublesome mother in law and me at home. As I was getting ready to head to the airport to surprise hubby for his birthday, mother in law set fire to my passport and chuckled, "Don't worry, I've already booked my ticket to keep him company." I called hubby and he said, "Let's get started." Mother in law was not prepared for what happened next. Hey y'all, it's Malena here, 33 female. Grab a snack and settle in because I've got one heck of a story to tell you about my crazy mother in law and how she finally got what was coming to her. So, a little backstory. I've been married to my husband Andre for about 5 years now. He's a total sweetheart, successful as hell. More on that later. And the love of my life. But his mom, Suzanna, she's been a thorn in my side since day one. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not some pushover who just sits there and takes nonsense from people. Nuh-uh. I've always given as good as I got with Suzanna. But let me tell you, that woman could try the patience of a saint. From the moment Andre put a ring on my finger, it was like Suzanna made it her life's mission to make me miserable. She was always dropping by unannounced, criticizing my cooking, my cleaning, and even the way I folded Andre's socks. Like, seriously? Who died and made you the sock folding police? I remember this one time, not long after we got married, Susanna came over for dinner, and I'd spent hours cooking up this fancy roast. As soon as she took a bite, her face scrunched up as she sucked on a lemon. Oh my, this is interesting. I suppose not everyone can cook like a mother can. Well, Susanna, maybe if you'd shared some of your recipes instead of hoarding them like state secrets, I might have had a chance. Andre nearly choked on his wine, trying not to laugh, but that's how it always was. Her making snide comments, me clapping back, and poor Andre stuck in the middle. To his credit, my man always had my back. He knew his mom was being extra and he wasn't afraid to call her out on it. I remember one particularly nasty argument where Susanna was off about how I was changing her baby boy. "She's turning you against me, Andre. Can't you see it? This isn't how I raised you." "Mom, enough. Malena isn't changing me. She's supporting me. And if you can't respect my wife, then maybe you need to take a step back." But I'm your mother, and Malena's my wife. She comes first now, Mom. That's just how it is. Y'all should have seen Susanna's face. It was like someone had told her Christmas was canceled. But as satisfying as it was to see her put in her place, it always broke my heart a little to see how it affected Andre. See, family's always been super important to me. Even though Susanna drove me up the wall, I knew how much Andre loved her. And I wanted our future kids to have a relationship with their grandma, you know. So I kept trying, kept allowing her into our lives, even when she made me want to pull my hair out. Things went on like this for years. We'd have good periods where Susanna would behave, and then she'd do something crazy and we'd be right back at square one. It was exhausting. But we were making it work, or so I thought. Everything changed several months ago. Andre had invited his mom over for dinner, saying he had some big news to share. I was curious, but didn't think too much of it. I just figured it was something to do with his work. He's the CEO of this super successful construction company, always landing big contracts and stuff. So there we were, sitting around the dining table. I'd made Susanna's favorite lasagna. Yeah, I can be the bigger person sometimes. And things were actually going pretty smoothly. Then Andre cleared his throat and dropped the bomb. "So, I've got some exciting news. The company is expanding internationally and they want me to oversee a huge project in Egypt. I'll be there for 6 months, building a new office complex. I was floored. I mean, this was huge. My man going international? Talk about a power move. But before I could even open my mouth to congratulate him, Suzanna let out this wail like someone had just run over her cat. Egypt? For 6 months? But that's so far away and dangerous. What if something happens to you? What if you get sick? Who's going to take care of you? He's a grown man, Susanna. I'm pretty sure he can handle himself. You stay out of this. This is all your fault, isn't it? You're trying to send my baby away. Mom, stop it. This has nothing to do with Malena. It's a huge opportunity for me, for my career. Can't you just be happy for me? But Susanna wasn't having it. She kept carrying on, talking about terrorists and food poisoning and God knows what else. It was like a switch had flipped, and all the progress we'd made over the years just poof, gone. I could see how much it was affecting Andre. This was supposed to be a celebration, you know, his big moment. And here was his mom turning it into a pity party. So I did what any good wife would do. I put my foot down. All right, that's enough, Susanna. I get that you're worried, but this isn't about you. It's about Andre and his dreams. Now, you can either be supportive or you can leave. Your choice. Susanna's eyes nearly popped out of her head. She turned to Andre, probably expecting him to defend her. But my man just nodded. Malena's right, Mom. I need your support right now, not whatever this is. For a second, I thought Susanna might actually listen. But nope. She stood up, knocking her chair over in the process, and stormed out of the house. As the door slammed behind her, Andre let out this long, tired sigh. I'm sorry about that, babe. I really thought she'd be happy for me. Hey, it's not your fault. She'll come around, and if she doesn't, well, that's on her, not you. We spent the rest of the night talking about Andre's big opportunity. As excited as I was for him, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little worried too. 6 months is a long time to be apart, you know. But I knew how much this meant to him, so I pushed those feelings aside and focused on being supportive. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparations. Andre had a million things to take care of at work, and I was busy making sure everything was set for him at home. Suzanna, meanwhile, was giving us both the silent treatment. Part of me was relieved, at least she wasn't causing any more drama, right? The night before Andre was set to leave, we were lying in bed just holding each other, and that's when he finally opened up about his mom. I just don't get it, Malena. Why can't she be happy for me? It's like she doesn't want me to succeed. Oh, babe, I don't think that's it. I think she's just scared of losing you. But she's not losing me. I'm coming back. I know that. And you know that, but your mom, look, I'm not trying to defend her behavior or anything, but she raised you on her own, right? You were her whole world for so long. Maybe she's just having a hard time letting go. Maybe I wish she could see how amazing you are, how happy you make me. Instead, she acts like you're the enemy. Hey, don't worry about me. I can handle Suzanna. You just focus on kicking butt in Egypt, okay? We fell asleep holding hands that night, and the next morning, I drove Andre to the airport. Suzanna was nowhere to be seen, which broke my heart for Andre's sake, but he put on a brave face. It's okay. She'll come around eventually. And hey, absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? As I watched his plane take off, I couldn't help but wonder what the next 6 months would bring. Little did I know, things were about to get way crazier than I ever could have imagined. First couple of months weren't too bad. Andre and I video chatted every day, and he seemed to be thriving in Egypt. Meanwhile, I was focusing on work and hanging out with friends, trying to keep busy. Suzanna, true to form, was still giving me the cold shoulder. But honestly, after years of her constant meddling, The peace and quiet was very much appreciated. But as the months went by, Andre's birthday started approaching, and I started feeling guilty. I knew how much he missed home, especially with his mom still not talking to him. And that's when I hatched my brilliant plan. I'd surprise him in Egypt for his birthday. A week of sun, sand, and quality time with my man. Sign me up. Now, I'm not usually one for keeping secrets, but I wanted this to be a real surprise. So I booked my ticket on the down low and started getting everything ready. But then I got to thinking about Suzanna. I mean, yeah, she'd been a total pain lately, but she was still Andre's mom, and I knew how much it would mean to him to have us both there. So, against my better judgment, I decided to reach out to her. I remember sitting in our living room staring at my phone for a good 10 minutes before I finally worked up the courage to call. Hey, Suzanna, it's Malena. What do you want? Look, I know things have been tense between us lately, but Andre's birthday is coming up, and I thought maybe we could put our differences aside for his sake. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. For a second, I thought she might have hung up on me, but then, what did you have in mind? I explained my plan to surprise Andre in Egypt, and to my shock, Suzanna actually seemed interested. We spent the next hour going over details, and by the end of the call, I was feeling pretty good about things. Maybe, just maybe, this could be a turning point for us. But y'all, I should have known better. The day before we were set to leave, Suzanna called me. Oh, Malena, I'm so sorry, but I completely forgot to book my ticket. Is there any way you could help me out? Now, I'm not going to lie. A part of me was suspicious, but I wanted to believe that Suzanna was really trying. So I told her not to worry, that she could just book a flight for the next day and join us a little late. No big deal, right? Wrong. So wrong. The morning of my flight, I was rushing around making sure I had everything packed. I'd asked Suzanna to give me a ride to the airport, figuring it'd be a good chance for us to bond a little before the trip. When I heard her car pull up, I grabbed my suitcase and headed out. But as soon as I stepped outside, I knew something was off. Suzanna had this look on her face, kind of like a cat that just caught a really juicy mouse. Before I could say anything, she pulled something out from behind her back. It took me a second to realize what it was, and by then, it was too late. My passport. She had my freaking passport and a lighter. Suzanna, what the hell are you doing? Oh, don't worry, dear. I'm just making sure you don't do anything rash. And then, I swear to God, this woman set my passport on fire. Right there in our driveway. I was too shocked to even move at first. At that point, I was cursing myself for leaving my passport out on the dining table. But it wasn't my fault. My husband was related to a psychopath. By the time I snapped out of it and tried to grab it from her, it was already half ash. Don't worry, I've already booked my ticket to keep him company. Someone has to look after my baby boy on his birthday, after all. I lost it. Like full-on seeing red, about to catch a case, kind of lost it. I lunged at Suzanna, ready to snatch every gray hair out of her head. But she just danced away, cackling like the witch she is. Temper, temper. What would Andre say if he could see you now? What would Andre say? What would Andre say? Oh, I'll tell you what he'd say, you psychotic old bat. I stormed back into the house, slamming the door so hard I thought the windows might shatter. With shaking hands, I pulled out my phone and dialed Andre's number. As soon as he picked up, I let it all spill out. Babe, you're not going to believe what your crazy mother just did. I told him everything, the surprise plan, trying to include his mom, the whole passport burning fiasco. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, this eerily calm voice, Andre said, "Let's get started." What? She's not the only one who can play games, babe. Here's what we're going to do. For the next hour, Andre laid out this wild plan, Turns out my man had been doing some thinking of his own while he was away. He was tired of his mom's antics, tired of always being stuck in the middle. It was time, he said, to teach Suzanna a lesson she'd never forget. Now, I'm not going to lie, part of me felt a little bad about what we were about to do, but then I remembered my charred passport, and suddenly I was all in. Andre decided that he would rather spend his birthday with me than with his nut job of a mom, and so that's what he set out to do. Because he'd been doing such a fantastic job in Egypt, he could afford a little break to come back home for a week or so. He was going to take a mini vacation sometime later, but he thought now was as good a time as any. He would leave work for his assistants to manage and make his way back home so we could celebrate his birthday. And he decided that his mom wouldn't be privy to any of this information. I spent the next 24 hours cleaning the house from top to bottom, cooking up a storm, and getting everything ready for Andre's homecoming. Meanwhile, Andre was keeping tabs on his mom's flight, making sure she was well on her way to Egypt before he boarded his own plane. Finally, after what felt like forever, I heard the sound of a car pulling up outside. My heart was racing as I peeked out the window and saw Andre step out of a taxi. I flung open the front door and ran into his arms. "Baby, oh my God, I've missed you so much." "Missed you too, beautiful. Now where's this delicious food I've been smelling all the way from the airport?" We spent the next few hours just enjoying being together again. Andre told me all about his work in Egypt, and I filled him in on everything that had been going on at home. It felt so good to have him back, to fall into our old routines like he'd never been away. But we both knew the real fun was just beginning. See, Suzanna's flight was due to land in Egypt in just a few hours, and boy, was she in for a surprise. Andre had it all planned out. He'd arranged for a car service to pick Suzanna up at the airport, complete with a sign with her name on it and everything. The driver had strict instructions to take her on a scenic route to the hotel, which was actually just driving her around in circles for a few hours. Meanwhile, we got busy setting up for the next phase of our plan. Andre called up some of his friends from work, and soon our house was filled with people, music, and the smell of barbecue. We were throwing Andre the biggest, loudest birthday bash this neighborhood had ever seen. As the party was in full swing, Andre's phone started blowing up with messages from Suzanna. I cozied up next to the phone so I could hear in. "Andre, honey, where are you? I've been driving around for hours, and this driver keeps saying we're almost there. Is this some kind of a joke?" Andre winked at me before answering. "Hey, Mom, what are you talking about? I'm at home celebrating my birthday. Where are you?" There was a long pause. Then, "What do you mean you're at home? I'm in Egypt. I came to surprise you for your birthday." "Egypt? Mom, I've been home for some time now. I wanted to spend my birthday with you and Mao, but she told me you had gone out. Didn't she tell you?" I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing as I heard Suzanna's sharp intake of breath. But Malena said she was supposed to. I don't understand." "Hold on, let me put you on speakerphone. Malena's right here." He gave me a mischievous grin as he hit the speaker button. I cleared my throat, trying to sound as innocent as possible. "Hi, Suzanna, how's Egypt? I hope you're having a great time." You knew Andre was coming home. Why didn't you tell me?" "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you knew. I mean, after you burned my passport, I assumed you had some inside information or something. That's why you were so insistent on going instead of me, right?" The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. I could practically hear the gears turning in Suzanna's head as she realized she'd been played. When she finally spoke, her voice was trembling with rage. "You set me up, both of you. How dare you? Andre, I'm your mother." That's when Andre's tone changed. Gone was the playful, teasing voice. Instead, he sounded more serious than I'd ever heard him. Yes, you are my mother, and I love you. But what you did to Malena was beyond unacceptable. Burning her passport? Really, Mom? Do you have any idea how illegal and dangerous that is? I I just was trying to protect you. No, Mom, you were trying to control me. You've been trying to control me and my relationship with Malena since day one, and it stops now. But no buts. You have a choice to make. You can either accept that Malena is my wife, that she comes first in my life now, and start treating her with the respect she deserves. Or you can keep pulling stunts like this and lose me for good. It's up to you. The line went dead. Suzanna had hung up. For a moment, the party around us seemed to fade away as Andre and I just looked at each other. Then, slowly, he started to smile. Well, that felt good. You okay, babe? Yeah, I think I am. It's been a long time coming, you know. We spent the rest of the night celebrating not just Andre's birthday, but this new chapter in our lives. For the first time in years, I felt like we were truly free from Susanna's drama. The next few days were blissfully quiet. No angry phone calls, no surprise visits, nothing. It was like a weight had been lifted off both our shoulders. Andre and I spent our time reconnecting, making plans for the future, and just enjoying being together without any outside interference. But of course, the peace couldn't last forever. About a week after the party, we heard a knock at the door. Andre and I exchanged glances. We both knew who it had to be. Sure enough, when we opened the door, there stood Suzanna. She looked different, smaller somehow, like all the fight had gone out of her. Her eyes were red and puffy, and she was clutching a bouquet of flowers like a lifeline. As soon as she saw Andre, Suzanna burst into tears. She dropped the flowers and threw her arms around him, sobbing uncontrollably. Oh, Andre, my baby boy, how could you do this to me? Do you have any idea what I've been through? Andre gently disentangled himself from his mother's embrace, his face a mix of sympathy and determination. Mom, please calm down. Come inside. We need to talk. I'm glad you're here. We led Suzanna to the living room, where she collapsed onto the couch, still crying. I handed her a box of tissues, which she accepted without even looking at me. I was so scared, Andre, stranded in a foreign country, not knowing where you were or what was happening. How could you be so cruel? Andre took a deep breath, sitting down across from his mother. I perched on the arm of his chair, offering silent support. Mom, I understand you're upset, but I need you to listen to me. The pain you're feeling right now, that fear and confusion, that's exactly what Malena has been going through for years because of your behavior. Susanna's head snapped up, her eyes wide with shock. That's not the same thing. I was mean a couple of times. You left me stranded. Maybe not, but that doesn't change the fact that it happened. Every time you showed up unannounced, every time you criticized her or tried to come between us, you were hurting her. And by extension, you were hurting me too. Susanna's lip trembled as she looked at me, really looked at me for what felt like the first time. You two are exaggerating. Even Malena will tell you that I wasn't that awful to her. I sighed, tired of her delusion. I've tried so many times to build a relationship with you, but it always felt like you were pushing me away. You literally burned my passport in front of me, Suzanna. You don't think that that's unhinged behavior? Suzanna buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with sobs. You know how hard things are for me. I can't lose you, Andre. Andre reached out and took his mother's hand. Mom, I know you love me, but Malena is my wife. We're a team, and if you want to be a part of our lives, you need to accept that. I mean it, Ma. I know I've said it 1,000 times, but we're done. I'm done. I can't keep condoning this behavior. You need to heal and you need to do better. I mean it. Suzanna nodded, wiping her eyes, finally seeming to understand just how serious we were being. And then something happened, and I swear I thought I was hallucinating. She said she was sorry. I owe you both an apology. What I did, it was wrong. So wrong. I've had a lot of time to think these past few days, and I realize now how terrible I've been. She turned to me, her eyes filled with tears. Malena, I'm so sorry. For everything, for the way I've treated you, for trying to come between you and Andre, for burning your passport. I'll cover all the costs. I have no excuse. I was selfish and scared, and I took it out on you. I've been struggling for so long, I don't even recognize myself. I'm so ashamed. I don't know why I'm like this, but I want to try and be better. Please, I can see now how much I've hurt you. I don't ever want to feel this again. I don't even know what to say. I'll be honest, you all. Part of me wanted to tell her where she could stick her apology, but I looked at Andre and saw the hope in his eyes, and I knew what I had to do. It's not going to be easy, Suzanna. You've hurt me a lot, but I'm willing to try if you are, for Andre's sake and for our families. Suzanna nodded, tears streaming down her face now. Then she turned to Andre. And you, my sweet boy, I'm so sorry for trying to hold you back. You've grown into such an amazing man, and I should have been celebrating that instead of fighting it. Can you forgive your foolish old mother? Andre was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly he reached out and took Susanna's hand. I love you, Mom. That's never going to change, but things have to be different from now on. No more interference. No more trying to come between me and Malena. We're a team, and you need to respect that, and you need to replace my wife's passport. That would be a good start. Suzanna nodded vigorously. Yes, of course, I promise. Things will be different. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right, and I'll get to doing that, don't worry. It wasn't an instant fix, of course. We had a lot of work to do to rebuild trust and establish new, healthier boundaries. But that day marked a turning point in our relationship with Suzanna. Over the next few months, we saw a whole new side of her. She started going to therapy and working through her issues with letting go and control. She made a real effort to get to know me. Not as a rival for Andre's affection, but as her daughter-in-law and part of the family. There were still bumps along the way, of course. Old habits die hard, and there were times when Suzanna would slip back into her old ways. But the difference was, now she could recognize when she was doing it and make an effort to correct herself. As for Andre and me, our relationship was stronger than ever. Going through all this drama together had brought us even closer, reminding us of why we fell in love in the first place. About a year after the whole Egypt fiasco, we had some big news of our own to share. We invited Suzanna over for dinner, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of déjà vu as we all sat around the table. But this time, the atmosphere was completely different. Andre squeezed my hand under the table before clearing his throat. Mom, we have something to tell you. Suzanna looked up, a flicker of worry crossing her face. Is everything okay? I smiled, placing my free hand on my stomach. Everything's perfect, Suzanna. You're going to be a grandmother. The joy on Suzanna's face in that moment was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. She jumped up from her chair, rushing around the table to hug us both. Oh my goodness, a baby! I'm going to be a grandma. Oh, this is the best news ever. As I watched her fuss over Andre, asking a million questions about the pregnancy and offering to help in any way she could, I couldn't help but marvel at how far we'd come. From burning passports to planning baby showers. It was all like night and day. That night, after Suzanna had gone home, but not before making us promise to call her with any updates, Andre and I were cuddled up on the couch. He had his hand on my belly, a look of wonder on his face. Can you believe it? We're really doing this. We're going to be parents. I know. It's crazy, right? But you know what? I think we're ready. Yeah. Yeah, after everything we've been through, I feel like we can handle anything. Plus, now we've got your mom on our side. Who would have thought? Andre laughed, pulling me closer. Definitely not me. But I'm glad we got here. Our kid's going to have one big, crazy, loving family. As I drifted off to sleep that night, I couldn't help but feel grateful for everything, even the hard times. They'd brought us here to this moment on the cusp of starting our new family. And yeah, maybe our journey hadn't been the smoothest, but in the end, it had all been worth it. So there you have it, folks. The wild tale of how my mother in law went from burning my passport to being my biggest supporter. Life's funny like that sometimes, you know. Just when you think you've got someone figured out, they can surprise you in the best way possible. To anyone out there dealing with difficult in laws, all I can say is this: hang in there, set your boundaries, stand your ground, but also be open to change. You never know. That troublesome mother in law might just turn out to be one of your biggest allies in the end. As for me, I'm looking forward to the next chapter of our story. Midnight feedings, diaper changes, and yes, even visits from Grandma Suzanna. It's going to be one heck of an adventure. But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way.